Alright, hello. Welcome to another predictions videos for the UFC card this Saturday. I'm also going to do a predictions video for the Eubank versus Conor Ben fight. I don't really like that fight. I think it's kind of meaningless without, like, if you exclude the family thing in it. So I'm going to leave that till later because I really just don't care about it that much, to be honest. Exciting fight, don't get me wrong, it's just I don't think either are going to go anywhere after this. I think they're kind of just holding on to each other like for their life, getting their 10 minutes of fame. But moving on, Ian Garry versus Carlos Prates. Great fight, great matchmaking. I know it's short notice for Ian Garry, but still, they kind of fit each other's criteria. Prates needs a high level opponent with good grappling. Gary's coming off a loss, so he has to punch down to bounce back up. Great fight for either of them. It'd be a monumental win for either of them. There's only going to be stock going up after this fight, and stock either staying the same or slightly going down. Because no one's going to judge either of them if they lose or win, you know? If Prates gets out-grappled, no one's going to judge him, you know? Gary's a great grappler, you know? But if Gary loses, Prates is the hardest hitter in the division right now. It's very hard for there to be a natural loser in this fight, in my opinion, at least. So I'm going to just go through the card, bottom to top, cover everything, cover what I think, and try to do it as little time as possible. So speaking as, I got to get a move on, because I want to keep this under 20 minutes. So, first fight of the night. Chelsea Chandler versus Jocelyn Edwards. I don't really rate Chelsea Chandler that much, and she's up there in age. Jocelyn Edwards is right around our prime right now. So I'm going to go with Jocelyn Edwards. And also I want to just point out, it'll be a miracle if both of these women make weight. One of them is going to not make weight, you know, and maybe that might tell into how the fight will go. But both of these women have missed weight about 5 times in their last 10 fights. And that's not even combined. They've both actually missed weight 5 times in their last 10 fights. Chelsea Chandler doesn't even have 10 fights. She doesn't even have 9. Oh wait, she has 9, sorry. Shit maths. It's just, both of these women, I wouldn't be surprised if they're cut from the UFC tomorrow. Maybe Jocelyn Edwards has a reason to say, but Chelsea Chandler, she has 9 fights, and she's missed weight, and she's on a 2-fight losing streak, I believe. It's just, they're both shit. There's a reason why they're opening the night. So, get them to the apex, goddammit. Why are these fighters in front of a crowd? Why? Was it just to fill a slot? Was no one else available? Why are these the fighters you pick to have in front of a crowd? You know? Esteban Rivovic was in the apex after that legendary performance at 306. And these people get to fight in front of a crowd. Now, don't get me wrong, it might be an exciting fight. But why do they deserve to fight in front of a crowd? I don't understand it. I'm going Jocelyn Edwards, probably submissions round 2 and 3. So moving on. This is a fight I'm actually excited about. I'm actually not mad about this being in front of a crowd. Timmy Cuamba, I think that's how you pronounce it, and Roberto Romero. I'm going to go with Roberto Romero in this fight. I feel like he lost his last one against David Onama, and it was a clear win for David Onama, but it was short notice for Roberto Romero, and he's very, very young, and he's not that well into martial arts yet, and he put on a great performance against David Onama. I don't really rate Timmy Cuamba that highly, so I'm just going to assume with a full training camp and time to prepare, Roberto Romero is leagues better than Timmy Cuamba. So I'm going to go with Roberto Romero knockouts round 1 or 2. So that's just my pick for tonight. I don't know what the odds are for him. Who cares, really? It's even, so I think Roberto Romero is clearly better, even though his record is a little bit worse and the height difference. But I like Roberto Romero more than Timmy Cuamba. Alright, moving on. But definitely, that might be fight of the night, I think. That might be fight of the night. If it doesn't get a knockout early, it could be fight of the night material. Speaking of fight of the night material, this fight is probably going to be dog shit. Polyana Viana and Jacqueline Amorim. Both Brazilian. You know, it's why is the UFC still signing Polyana Viana? I mean, we all know why she's still signed. Everyone knows. It's just, I don't watch UFC for this shit, man. Let me see what the odds are. Yeah, that's about right. I'd actually have Amorim like way ahead. I'm going Jacqueline Amorim, probably submission rounds 1, probably. Yeah, round 1, I think. I just don't rate Polyana Viana. I think she just... There's only one reason she's still in the UFC, and I think everyone knows, so I'm going to just move on. Cameroon Simon versus Malcolm Wellmaker. I like Malcolm Wellmaker. I think his boxing is very good. He's a good counter striker. But I feel like with the situation and circumstance Cameroon Simon is in right now, after that, like it gets 2 back-to-back losses, and it's only 2 losses in his career. I think it's make or break now for Cameroon Simon, and I feel like with his age, he's only 24. Like, he's not even near his prime yet. There's still improvements to be made, and he's been in the octagon with Peyton Talbot and whatnot. That's great experience, like, against another upcoming star. I think he's younger than Peyton Talbot as well. Peyton Talbot is like 27, he's like 24. So, you know, maybe a rematch, Cameron Simon in a couple of years could win that fight. But I'm going to go with Cameron Simon. I feel like he wants it more, you know what I mean? Not saying that Malcolm Wellmaker doesn't want it. I just feel like the circumstance and the situation Simon is in, especially the camp he fights in. He fights in the same camp as Dricus du Plessis. I just feel like it's a layup for a comeback of the century. So I'm going to go Cameron Simon. Probably about knockout. Actually, no. He can do a submission. He is very good. He's very good grappling. Not the greatest, but very good for where he is. He might grapple with, actually, now that I think about it, he might grapple Malcolm, since Malcolm is like mostly a boxer. So I can see Cameron taking him down either ground and pound or submission. I'm going to say more ground and pound, but he could get submission off, who knows. But I'm going to go with ground and pound KO. Rounds 1 or 2, let's say. Alright, moving on. Damon Blackshear versus Alan Tungeli. Yeah. Look at the height difference. Jesus Christ. It's a miracle Damon Blackshear makes bantamweight. He's ginormous for the division. I think the reach difference is even like huge as well. Jesus Christ. Almost every disadvantage you can have along Tungeli has them. So I'm gonna go with Damon Blackshear, probably knockout rounds 1 or 2. Ala Tungeli has been knocked out a few times in his career, I believe. Damon Blackshear is coming off a win, and then before that, probably one of the worst knockouts of his career. Like, he got knocked out, I mean. But I think he can come back. I think Damon Blackshear probably knocks him out in a round. Let's see what the odds have to say about it. Like UFC normally do, they don't have it, so great. Moving on. Chris Gutierrez versus John Castaneda. Alright. This one was tricky, but I've come to a conclusion. I'm going to go with Chris Gutierrez decision. Either a decision or a knockout. I don't really see him submitting him. So yeah, I'm going to go Chris Gutierrez, probably knockout rounds 3 or a decision. Alright, moving on. It's not really a huge fight. I'm not going to go into that much. About, you know what I mean? Let's see what the odds say. Yeah, I picked another favourite. Who could have guessed? Evan Elder versus Gage Young. I'm not too impressed with Gage Young. I like Evan Elder. I'm going to go with Evan Elder, even though my argument for the previous fight with the Cameron Simon fight is that he's still young. But I just don't rate Gage Young that much. So I'm going to go with Evan Elder. Probably... Let me just double check just to make sure. Yeah, probably knockout. So yeah, I'm going to go with Evan Elder. probably by knockout rounds 2 or 3. You know, actually, I can see a round 1 knockout happening, but I'd have to get very lucky. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. Evan Elder rounds 1 or 2 knockout. Why not? Alright. Moving on. Matt Schnell versus Jimmy Flick. Now, if you've watched this channel before, you'll know I have a thing called the I might be wrong pick of the night. This one I might be wrong about, but I see Jimmy Flick submitting Matt Schnell in probably 2 rounds. I don't think anyone agrees with me on that. I think Jimmy Flick has decent grappling, and I think it'll be well enough to submit Matt Schnell. I could bite my words, but that's just how I feel. So, yeah, I might be wrong picking the night. Round of applause, why don't you? If I decide to edit in, I might be too lazy. Jimmy Flick gets the submission rounds 1 or 2. Woo, you know. I just don't see Matt Schnell winning besides like a lucky punch. So, yeah, I'm going to go Jimmy Flick getting the submission. Alright, Ikram Aliskerov versus, I pronounced that terribly, I'm sorry. Ikram Aliskerov versus Andre Muniz. Both average-sized middleweights. Let's see what the reach difference is. Why am I going on about the reach, man? Ikram Aliskerov, coming off the worst knockout of his career. He got knocked out by Robert Whittaker, I believe. Yeah, it was Robert Whittaker. I don't really know right now if he can recover that, quickly. I can't remember when he fought Robert Whittaker, because Robert Whittaker already fought after that, so. I'd say at least 6 months he's had off. Andre Muniz, I think, is coming off a 2-year layoff, I believe. I don't know why he hasn't fought in 2 years. I could be wrong, but I think he hasn't fought in 2 years. I need to revise my notes. But I'm just going to assume he is. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's coming off a 2-year layoff. I'm going to go with Ikram Aliskerov, probably knockout round 1 or 2, because he probably needs to make a statement after that, almost career-ruining loss. But there's no shame of it. It's like Robert Whittaker, but he is a bit of a pillow puncher, so. Alright. Ikram Aliskerov, I'm going to go knockout round 1 or 2. Moving on. Randy Brown versus Nicholas Dalby. I think I'm the only person that's excited for this fight. I like Nicholas Dalby, but I'm going to be like a broken record saying it. The age, he's 40 years old. I can't really trust that. He's 5'10" in welterweight. I'm getting Tony Ferguson vibes. I'm going to go Randy Brown knockouts round 1 or 2. Either that or Nicholas Dalby just suddenly becomes Habib and wrestles him. But I don't see that happening. I see Randy Brown getting the win via knockout rounds 1 or 2. I believe in his power. Moving on. Michel Pereira versus Abus Magomedov. If this fight goes past the first round, it's going to be the most boring fight of the century. If this goes past the first round, it's going to be like watching 2 Darren Elkins just scrapping the ring. That's how bad these guys' gas tanks are. They're like Hamzat, but for striking. It's mental. Who do I think is going to win this fight? I think the pressure is more on Michel Pereira. But after that performance against Anthony Hernandez, I'm going to go Abus Magomedov. I trust him more in this fight. I feel like Michel Pereira is coming to a standstill with his peak. I just can't trust. He needs to get that lucky knockout, or he needs to get a finish in the first 3 minutes, or it's fucked. Abus Magomedov, 5 minutes at least, So I'm gonna go Abus Magomedov if he survives the first 2 minutes with Michel Pereira. Who knows? Maybe Pereira might come out with a spinning wheel kick, or no. Who knows? Maybe both of these guys will work on their gas tanks, and we might see a 3-round war. I don't know. But I'm just going to go Abus Magomedov in this fight. I just trusting my gut, I can't pick Pereira after that Hernandez performance. It was especially in the Apex, there was not even a crowd to boo them. One of the worst fights I've ever watched. No, not slacking Hernandez. He was good. He did something. But Pereira, it was more on Pereira, I believe. So yeah, I'm gonna go Abus Magomedov in this fight. So moving on. Oh yeah, probably I'll go with knockout because like I don't think either of them are grapplers. So knockout rounds 1 or 2 for Abus Magomedov. Giga Chikadzki versus David Onama. I was just talking about David Onama earlier. That's coincidence. I forgot he was on this card. Just going on the spot. I forgot this fight was going on, so I'm just gonna make this up on the spot. I'm gonna go with David Onama. Probably not decision, maybe. Either decision or very late knockout. I can see happening. The only way I can see Giga Chikadzki is winning this fight is if he gets a very lucky knockout in the first 5 minutes of the fight. I might go from. I might go. You know, actually, yeah, fuck it. Giga Chikadzki first round knockout. Why not? Let's do it. So my pick is Giga Chikadzki. Why not? Anthony Smith versus Xiang Ming Yang. I rate Xiang Ming Yang a lot. I don't know who he fought his last fight. I couldn't remember your man's name, but I know he knocked him out in the first 2 minutes. 6'2" for light heavyweight. You know, he's not that big, but he packs a lot of power. So I'm gonna go with Xiang Ming Yang first round knockout. I know it's gonna come as a surprise against Anthony Smith. My question is, will this be the first time we see Anthony Smith get flatline KO'd? I don't want to see him flatline KO'd, but this is the last go round, and I can see it happening. You know what I mean? I rate Xiang Ming Yang's power, so we might see Anthony Smith go to sleep here. So I'm gonna go Anthony Smith to get knocked out in the first round. Maybe a TKO, who knows? But I can really see him getting slept here. And no, I don't think it's gonna be a mythical Anthony Smith pulls a submission from down under, just chokes him out randomly like he did Vitor Petrino. I rate Xiang Ming Yang too highly. I don't think he's on the level as Vitor Petrino. So I'm going to go with Xiang Ming Yang. First round knockout. Probably flatlines him, who knows. The main event. What a fight. Unironically, I'm actually really happy with this fight. I feel like this is a better fight for Prates than Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal would have just been another striker with some wrestling. I feel like Garry is a much better test for Prates. This is where the fraud check comes in. Because Garry has solid striking, very good wrestling. Decent jiu-jitsu. So, here's my predictions. I doubted one of the fighting nerds in my past predictions. I will not make the same mistake again. I'm going to go with Carlos Prates, second or third round knockout. I don't see him finishing him in the first, but I see him in the second or third catching Garry with something. And I know there's a lot of people saying, oh, Gary's wrestling might be too much for Prates and he might just smush him. After that John Silva fight with Bryce Mitchell, I think all of these guys might have solid wrestling if they're just genuinely all working on it, you know? I don't think Prates is that stupid. I think he would be working on it now that he's higher level MMA. So I'm going to go with Carlos Prates knockout rounds 2 or 3. You know, I can really see Prates being able to hold Garry down if he, has good grappling. I'm going to just assume he does, because I'm never doubting a fighting nerd again. After that John Silva performance. I don't think on the feet. I think the only advantage Garry has with Prates is the leg kicks. And he has the height advantage, but Carlos Prates has the arms of a 6'5" person. Garry has just normal arms for his size. It's going to be a strange opponent to gauge. He doesn't look human, does he? He has the smallest torso known to man. Alright, just going back to the topic. Carlos Prates, second or third round knockout. I don't see Garry getting a submission unless Prates just is dog shit at wrestling, but I'm just going to assume he has good ones, So yeah, those are my predictions for Kansas City card. Kansas City card. My lisp is really coming out now. Do I think most of these fights will be a banger? No. I'm just gonna assume they are because I always like to hope for the best. It's not the Apex, so if there's shit fights, at least you can laugh at the crowd booing them. And people throwing stuff in the cage. I don't know if they'll throw stuff, but who knows. So yeah, that's my predictions videos. We're just barely over 20 minutes, but I'm not unhappy with it. I'm still sure, like, Lucas Tracy's or MMA Guru's videos are about 40-minute each. So I'm doing well for myself, I would say. Yeah, there's not really much else to say. Other than that, I did my best to leave bias aside from the Garry and Prates fight. Even though I strongly dislike Garry, I looked at it objectively. So I'm trying to be objective, and that's just what I think. So, if either of these fighters win, I don't think they're going to win titles. I don't think they beat Shavkat or Jack Della Maddalena. JDM. I'm just gonna call him JDM. I'm not gonna pronounce that ever again. I could see either one of these beating a Bilal. I mean, Bilal's been knocked out before, and I think Garry could probably handle the wrestling of Bilal. But I don't see them beating a Shavkat or a JDM. Hell, even a Sean Brady. I think Sean Brady would be a problem for Carlos Prates. But that's been my predictions videos. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you think I'm full of shit, please let me know. If you think Garry's going to win, please tell me why. And please put a valid point instead of just Garry's going to win, little bro, and then just a shush emoji. It's like there's more to an argument than that. Please have a valid discussion in the comments. I don't mind hate, just please put reasoning behind it instead of just a shush emoji and like a stone face. You're not Alex Pereira, bro. So yeah, that's been me. See ya.